breaking news. The big, beautiful bill has passed. It has officially passed the United States Senate, and it is passing just by a whisker, right at 50 votes. And Vice President of the United States and President of the Senate, J.D. Vance, has officially broke the tie. The no Republicans are Susan Collins, Tom Tillis, and Rand Paul. Who would have thought of all the people to vote no? You would have Lisa Murkowski voting yes, and you would have Tom Tillis voting no. That is why it's good to have a 53-vote majority. Well, it's really a 6-vote majority, but 53 votes in the U.S. Senate. And the vote has officially been tallied, and the bill is passed, and it's going straight to the president's desk, and he will sign it on July the 4th to be able to celebrate no tax on tips, no tax on overtime, extra border security, the largest welfare reform that we have seen. And look, the bill is far from accomplishing everything that we want as far as cutting spending. We've covered that. We're going to actually segue on that particular element in a moment. But this is still a major accomplishment for President Trump, a phenomenal legislative accomplishment. And now it has to go back to the House. Has the House also done this? So that's the question. The House needs to go back and vote and approve the Senate version. That's also going to have some drama as well. So the Senate has passed it, but now it has to go back to the House, and we have some holdouts there. We have Mike Lawler, you got Don Bacon, you got Chip Roy, who's a friend of mine. And so now the Senate has done their job. Now it goes back to the House one last time. So it goes House. Since the Senate changed it, it goes back to the House. So this is not yet over, but it has officially passed in the United States Senate. Markets are looking very favorable to this, as the markets are going up, as they know that massive depreciation, Trump tax cuts are nothing but good for the economy and supercharging consumer spending and supply side investment. Now, the news last evening that got people a little bit off kilter, whether or not this thing was going to pass with the narrow margins, was the world's richest man, Elon Musk, said last evening that he was going to spend whatever money he needed to spend against anyone that voted for this bill. More specifically, Elon Musk and Donald Trump, they're back in the arena. Donald Trump may have brokered a ceasefire between Israel and Iran and Congo and Rwanda and India and Pakistan, but it turns out that the Elon-Trump conflict has reemerged back to the surface. It was a couple weeks of just kind of peace, but now we have this back right in front of us. As we know, Musk had a falling out with Trump a few weeks ago over the contents of the big, beautiful bill. He started talking about forming a new third party called the America Party and competing in the 2026 elections. And then within a few days, it seemed like he cooled down and backed off that idea. Well, Trump avoided escalating and things got back on track. Well, it did not hold. Yesterday, as the Senate inched closer to the big, beautiful bill, and now the Senate has officially passed the big, beautiful bill, Musk tweeted this: "I want to make sure we get Elon's quote correct," which is this quote: "It is obvious with the insane spending of this bill, which increases the debt ceiling by a record $5 trillion, that we live in a one-party country, the Porky Pig Party. Time for a new political party that actually cares about the people." Now, let me just pause here. Elon is a deficit hawk. Honestly, I can sympathize with that. I want to see more spending cut. I want to see our budget eventually balanced. I have to also balance that with, though, that the national debt is not the only problem in America. 20 million illegal alien invaders in the interior of our country is a major problem in this country. In fact, that is an existential threat to this country. On this program, you're not going to hear anything negative about Elon. You're not going to hear us insult him. You're not going to hear us call him names. In fact, I like Elon. I've gotten to know Elon, friend, supporter, and I hope Elon comes back into this movement because we have way more in agreement than we have disagreement. But it seems as if right now this is going to keep on escalating. And on this program, we're going to call balls and strikes, and we're going to tell it like it is. We're going to say, I don't agree with that, and we might agree with this. Now, so Elon continued basically over a couple hours. The one that got people very upset, which very well could be a political problem, is this. He says, if this insane building passes, the America Party will be formed the next day. So Elon Musk, the world's wealthiest man, worth $350 billion, might be worth $400 billion as of today, says he's going to start a new political party, and he's going to form it the next day. Our country needs an alternative to the Democrat Party uniparty so that the people actually have, in all caps, a voice. And he says, quote, they just pretend to be two parties. It's just one uniparty in reality. Now, I have to push back on some of what Elon is saying respectfully. Democrats are not voting for this bill. Democrats are not voting for more money for ICE or for mass deportations or fully funding the border wall. They're also not they are not voting for Medicaid reform or welfare reform. And I can't imagine that Elon wants to have the working class of this country have a 68% tax increase. However, Elon's passion about balancing the budget is one that we should continue to talk about. We should talk more about balancing our budget. Now, some of the math is a little goofy because a lot of this starts to look better if we start to grow more. If we lower interest rates, the budget starts to get in more gets closer towards balancing. We're taking more money in with tariffs than we ever could have imagined. We have serious welfare reforms in this bill. But to Elon's point, is it enough? Well, we've said all along we wish there were more. But we also only have a 3-seat majority. And that 3-seat majority holds the entire conference captive. They hold the entire conference hostage. Mike Lawler and Don Bacon and a couple others, they say, no, we're not voting for that. And so unfortunately, it is about arithmetic. On top of that, in a reconciliation process, you are not able to even touch some of the mandatory spending that comes up in a budgetary discussion. So basically, we need more seats. We still got a good amount done. I think that there's more that could have possibly even been done, but this is still a phenomenal accomplishment. It does a lot more good than negative. So Elon is threatening to start a third party, and he is threatening to put a bunch of money in it, funding candidates, funding upstart type insurgents. He said, and then President Trump has not sat quietly by. One more from Elon. He says, quote, removal of funding. Got it. So Trump, I'm trying to say who said this. This is what he said, quote, removal of funding for enforcement of federal contempt of court orders is actual crux of the spending bill. This is nominally aimed at removing illegal immigrants, but obviously also enables many other abuses of power by the president. So Elon is now attacking President Trump, saying that Trump wants to be able to do this to abuse power. President Trump has not sat idly by, and he said, quote, Elon may get more subsidies than any other human being in history. By far, without subsidies, Elon would probably have to close up shop, head back home to South Africa. No more rocket launches, satellites, or electric car production. And our country would save a fortune. Perhaps we should have Doge take a good hard look at this. Big money to be saved. We're going to talk more about this after the break, because I actually think these two titans, the world's most powerful man and the world's most richest man, they both want to save Western civilization. They have different passion projects. Elon is focused like a Tomahawk missile on balancing the budget. President Trump is focusing on balance the budget, but President Trump also ran on a working-class populist economic agenda, which he is doing, and he ran on mass deportations. This is an agenda bill. A bill has to take a form. It has to take a final cause. This final cause of this bill is that we are doing what people voted for. Is it perfect? No. Is it good? Yes. It has some phenomenal components of it that we could never have imagined. Back in 2017, we could not get John McCain or Mitch McConnell to lift a finger for border wall funding. We're getting $50 billion for the wall. We could not get them a finger for mass deportations. We are getting $100 billion for mass deportations. 80% of the pie, not bad. And it's my hope that these two titans can reconcile. It's what would be best for Western civilization.
For full shows, live and on demand, it's Salem News Channel.